So I was watching ESPN before I went to work, and Kendrick Perkins comes on the air and he shows his top 5 point guards.
Oh, no.
Now, here's the thing, man. I think when we have these conversations, everyone has a different top 5, but I think the one consistent is it's usually Magic, it's usually Stockton, it's usually Isiah Thomas, you would think. But for the people that didn't see it, this was Kendrick Perkins' top 5, and we'll go over it. So John Stockton, number 5. Russell Westbrook, number 4.
Oh, no.
Oscar Robertson, number 3.
Oh, no.
Magic Johnson, number 2.
Oh, no.
And Stephen Curry, number 1. John, I mean, where's Isiah Thomas?
Yeah, the no Isiah Thomas is just, listen, the fact that Russell Westbrook is 4 and Isiah Thomas is nowhere to be seen on this list is just a level of basketball heresy that I don't even know I can begin to fully comprehend on this podcast. But I mean, look, when you talk about Stephen Curry, it's hard to argue that he's one of, if not the greatest guard ever. I mean, the things that he's done on the basketball court is insane, but at the same time, with what you associate with what Steph Curry's done, you almost don't necessarily associate that with, all-time great point guard play. You associate with that with his shooting acumen and the things that he can do to spread the basketball court. Benjamin even just said this too. No, even Jason Kidd would have made more sense over a Russell Westbrook, even though you look at what Russ did with the triple doubles and things like that. When you talk about like a sheer point guard, even like Steve Nash, like you know what I mean? Under Russell Westbrook, like that's, yeah, to me, when you're having a conversation about greatest point guards of all time and Isiah Thomas is not in the top 3, you lost me completely. And like at the very least, the top 3. You can have a conversation about where those names rank and you can have your reasoning. For me, Isiah is probably number 1 or 2, but if he's not at the least in the top 3, let alone not even in the top 5, you've just completely lost me. And, I know Kendrick Perkins is, like the low hanging fruit. He's like the easy fodder, but I mean, you're not really helping your case as to why that is when you're making dog lists like this. So
yeah, I mean, he blocked me on Twitter years ago.
That's probably good for you, actually.
Yeah, I'm sure people remember when Nikola Vucevic was in Orlando, and ESPN production team, or the producers, I think they did it on purpose because he couldn't say Vucevic, and he said it for like 10 minutes straight. And I saw a jersey swap, and someone like literally swapped what Kendrick Perkins was trying to say, and I retweeted it. I tagged him, and he blocked me. But dude, when I saw this list, I'm like, I respect that you have a guy that you played for in your top 5. I do, but when you're talking about the greatest point guards of all time, you have to put Steph Curry, I think, in this list now. He's a 4-time champion, and he's just changed the game as we know it, as we've watched basketball.
And perhaps one of, if not like one of the greatest Olympic runs we've ever seen from like a basketball player, like just the things he did over those last couple of games to secure the gold medal were just out of this world.
Yeah, absolutely. Like Curry will go down as one of the best small guards, I think, in NBA history when it's all said and done.
Mm-hmm.
Magic Johnson as well. Like Magic Johnson completely changed the game. I think he would be number 1 for me personally.
Mm-hmm.
I have Isiah it too. I do. I even though Curry has won 4 championships, what Isiah had to accomplish, the players that he had to go through, not too many players can say that they beat Michael Jordan, Larry Bird, and Magic Johnson on their way to winning an NBA championship. In fact, I think he's the only player that could say he did that. The level of competition that Isiah played in was the toughest brand of late 80s basketball that I think a lot of my subscribers, because I know my subscribers are a little bit older, between that 30 and 40 range, so they got to watch the Detroit Bad Boys growing up. I personally didn't. I've watched a lot of YouTube, a lot of 30 for 30s, a lot of league pass
Sure, it's
stuff.
smart to call your subscribers old, Anthony. You're just
It's
full
okay.
out putting them on blast here.
Hey man, I'm old too. I'm 32. Feel like I'm 62 sometimes, man. I swear. No one warned me about back pain in your 30s. Good Lord. It's a real thing.
It is.
Hey man, like people are literally 60 in here watching it, man. Like that's awesome.
Hey, let's go, man. Let's go. Love to see
it.
that, man.
I wasn't trying to make them like calling them old, but like I think kind of getting back on track to not have Isiah Thomas in your top 5 as greatest point guards of all time. I don't understand it. I think it's kind of clickbaity. I think it's kind of disrespectful. And he's really lucky Isiah Thomas didn't see it, because if Isiah Thomas saw it, he'd be calling kind of like he did Mike Greenberg like last month, saying like, what do you mean like me and Joe Dumars were the best backcourt because they put like Steph and Clay above them? He's like, what do you mean? Like, what do you mean we weren't like the top 5 backcourt of all time?
Yeah, like I think respectfully, there's so much, there's so much love for that Michael Jordan Bulls run and the dynasty that they were. And the thing that I think kind of drives me wild is people almost feel the need to bury the bad boys in order to bring up that team. But I think the part that even Michael Jordan has said himself, and the thing that nobody can dispute, is that team doesn't exist if the bad boy Pistons weren't in their way. And Isiah Thomas, when you talk about, again, if we're talking about the greatest point guards to ever play the game, and what that means as a floor general, as someone who can run an offense, who can score the basketball, who can set their teammates up, who makes those around him better, he is absolutely on that list. And if you're talking about playoff performances, if you're talking about being at your best when it matters, I mean, the Isiah Thomas sprained ankle game in the NBA Finals in 1988 is one of the greatest playoff performances ever that no one ever talks about, because the Pistons lost that game. But if you've never seen it, the dude just went out in the second half, scored 20 plus points on a bum high ankle sprain, could literally not even walk, and was the best player on the court with both teams. That included Magic Johnson. So like the dude was an absolute bona fide dog, and to not even have him in your top 5, with all due respect, even I wasn't around back then, and even I know that Isiah Thomas was a bad man, and Russell Westbrook as a point guard can't lace his shoes. He just can't.
No, like I said, I get it, because it's his former teammate.
One of the greatest athletes we've ever seen. One of the most transcendent players we've ever seen. Not one of the greatest point guards.
No, I mean, no, not at all. I mean, I think Isiah could play in today's generation, just the type of player he is. I mean, like his handles, getting to the basket, he'd probably shoot a lot more threes in today's game. I mean, he's just a type of player that you can put in any era and he could probably dominate. Like it's just crazy, because we're in Michigan, where we see the disrespect every day. And whether it's Pistons, Lions, Tigers, Red Wings, like the disrespect Detroit gets, the Detroit sports teams get, it's really unwarranted at times. I don't really understand not having, arguably, the greatest Piston of all time not in your top 5. But hey, man, it's Perk. As Charles Barkley said, you average 5 points a game, I'm not talking to you.
Oh my God, that was one of the greatest public comebacks I've ever seen in my entire life. Charles, talk about a Mount Rushmore. Like Charles Barkley as a media member, right at the top.
Charles has been on an all-time run ever since like the TNT and Amazon stuff is like
Oh.
kind of like come out. He just does not give a F. Like he is just roasting people. He just doesn't care. Like
I thought he already didn't care, but he looked like he was like emotionally on edge in comparison to how little he cares now. Like it's amazing. I love it.